Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy III. In the last part we found our way here to the Temple of Time underwater, and now it's time for us to actually take a look at this place, starting off with some Mage Chimeras. 420 HP, 1640 XP, 615 gil. You can steal a potion from them and they will use lightning on you, and I don't think that's a bolt attack, I think that's like the lightning elemental blaze from like later games.
I think it's pretty interesting, blaze, as in like how it is in 4. I see. But it's interesting because you have mage chimeras and then you have the normal chimeras, and I don't really see how they could possibly be different because like physical versus magical attacks, I guess. But
I think the way to look at it in universe between the two species is that like the main chimeras are only made with the usual like lion, goat, snake, whatever, whereas magic chimeras might have a bit more magical creatures in there, like a griffin or some stuff. Also, make sure you have at least, I think, 6 to 7 magic keys, because this is the last area in the game where you need them.
Need, or is it like optional, but there's just good stuff in there?
You do need at least 2, I believe, but you want at least 7 or 8, 6 to 7, because that's how many doors there are. And since I just got the diamond helm, which is a pretty decent upgrade for Lunith, after all, now he finally doesn't have the ice helm on, it's good to do that.
Alright, next our enemy is Dirai. They look kind of like harpies. They're called Diras in the DS version. They have 1250 HP, 1640 XP, drop 610 gold. They are not weak to, they're weak to nothing except for wind.
The one thing I should tell you guys, though, playing along if you have level 7 spell charges, save them for the final floor. Because the enemies take a bit of a jump in difficulty there. Not too much, but enough to warrant saving the charges, I would say.
Why do you need to save the charges, exactly? I still don't quite understand how level 8 spells work.
The way the spell charges work, it's unlike Final Fantasy 1, where you basically from the start have so many charges. Or actually, no, you still got charges you leveled up in that game, that's right. Spell charges are basically your MP. Like, I have 18 level 1 charges on Refia, so she can use 18 level 1 spells. The thing is, though, the higher the spell level is, as you would expect, the more dangerous the spell is for the enemies. But level 7 and 8 spells aren't the most useful all around. So there are some pretty meh ones in there. And
I am glad that they did at least replace it with the actual magic point system in 4.
Well, actually, no, the MP system was introduced in 2. They brought it back to charges for this game because I guess they thought it would be more appropriate for the kind of system they were doing. Though, thankfully, unlike Final Fantasy 1, as I think I mentioned way back when, you have a lot more spell charges in this game compared to 1.
Are the spells better, though? That's the real question, is that you have more charges, but is it useful to have all those charges?
Yes, because the dungeons are a bit longer, but they're a bit more fair about it, because they're not just like treks like they were in Final Fantasy 1. And the spells are overall more useful, because there's more that aren't bugged, and more that are just plain useful. Either way, now we got 2 new enemies. First off, we got the Kig Lizards, and a burp, apparently. 430 HP, 1640 XP, 620 gil. You steal a high potion, they also drop one. And that's about it. Basically, attack, you should do well. Though if I recall in the DS version, they were made to be weak to thunder.
So next we have the Sea King. They're called King Seahorses in the DS version. 470 HP, 1800 XP, 680 gil. They're not weak to anything. They can drop potions.
Thunder is still a very viable element to use in this place no matter what, though, because there are a decent amount of water elemental monsters. Go ahead.
It's steel, not drop. I read from the wrong line. So there you go.
Don't worry, that happens to me all the time. By the way, we should mention that they actually improved another thing about the battlefield in this game. First off, the menus are finally blue all around on the menus instead of black. And secondly, I think it was this game that added it. They actually now have like little things on the top that are worth looking at instead of just the black background. Though 2 may have added that too. I forget. Actually, yeah, 2 did add the background stuff. I guess they're just more visually appealing here.
I'm a little bit weirded out that this is the Temple of Time and they have diamond equipment and they don't have stuff like a haste helm or Hermes shoes or something that can grant whatever haste could possibly be in this game.
Haste
which I'm sure we've
is
discussed
not in this game, I believe. Or wait, is it?
Berserk, I think.
I think
there was
haste
some
in
weird
this game-
relationship between...
I think haste is
Like-
in this game, but I think it acts like Berserk is the thing. Yeah, it does. Either way, welcome to the final floor. Enemies are a lot harder here, but before you head south, head up the waterfalls for a secret, and oh god, behemoths! 1550 HP, 1800 XP, 660 guild. You can steal a potion from them, and they don't really have anything special about them other than the fact that they hurt. If you're at lower levels, like, I forget what levels I'm at now, probably 20-something, 30-something if I had to take a guess, they will do about half my health.
Yikes.
Yeah. Especially if you have, like, less defensive classes around like I don't. Or,
I hate behemoths.
Like
I hate behemoths in every game.
I still
All they do, sit on their ass, and they counterattack. That's all they do. They sit down and they're like, boom, have that. Boom, have that.
Well, that was 4
So-
that really started that. These guys are actually
Fair
fairly
enough.
offensive. I still think my least favorite behemoths... actually, I need to think about that.
Meteor, 9 for me. I can't. Those guys gave me a game over after beating Ozma.
They're pretty bad. 10s, the later versions, like the King Behemoth in Sin, could get pretty bad.
I don't know. I
there-
never found that one too bad.
Was there a Behemoth original species in 10? I forget.
Yeah, you can find it on the way to Xanarkand, I think.
No, like the original species in the arena.
Oh,
I forget. It's I know it's been only about half a year.
I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, considering Nestlug's in there. Ugh.
Ugh.
There's a lot in 10. But 4 might be actually my least favorite just because they take so long. Either way, go down this
That's
really
true.
long and damaging waterfall, and we find a Lamia Harp, useless, but 2 Protect Rings. We got Diamond Rings, I believe, earlier on, like one on Ref here right now. But the Protect Rings are the best ones in the game, because they also increase their Vitality by 5, which means they're also getting a good amount of increased HP growth.
Protectoring is good in every game it's in, so...
Yeah, and I cut back to the little main part of that room just because it took me a while to get back. 3 battles of behemoths. Ugh.
Magic battle, or magic keys. Do you have to use a magic key to re-enter?
If you, like, leave the room?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's a bad mechanic.
It's dated programming, really, is the way I look at it. Besides, you never need to come in here more than once. Because over here we find our goal, Noah's loot. Nua's Loot. Huh, that would be an entirely different game. Yes, we
This
get
totally sounds like Edward's theme.
I wouldn't be surprised if Edward's theme is a partial remix of this. And, like, particularly the harp song he plays when you're in the magnetic cavern.
Yeah. My god, I hated that.
I
Dark
hated that
Elf.
place my first playthrough, but now I actually kind of like that idea.
I think it's really creative.
Equipment limitations, I think, are the cool things in dungeons. Status limitations, not so much. Either way, now that we have Noah's loot, we could progress on with the story, but I'm going to tackle some side quests. Namely, you might remember someone said that there were catacombs in Salonia. Dive right next to it, and you can find them.
You can also find boss trolls. They have 500 HP, 2000 XP, 740 gil. You can steal high potions, north winds, and turtle shells. They drop exactly that. I'm pretty sure these guys are just like the ones in 4, and they hurt.
Oh, yeah. This area can actually be kind of dangerous, particularly because I forget what enemy it is. In fact, you know, I'm going to look at the overall enemy list I had at the end of the part. I think it's either... oh, I see what it is. It's the next enemy, I believe it is. That can be just really annoying. Though I do recommend, if you're first-time player, save before entering here, unlike I did. Because this place can be pretty annoying if you're underleveled.
I know many places like that.
Also, you'll find me doing that around this point in the game where I'm trying to find a secret passageway that I think is there, but I'm usually thinking of something later on. Because, honestly, the later game, I forget a bit more than the early game in this one. Either way, next enemy is a Kikes. 490 HP, 2000 XP, 720 gil. Can steal a high potion in a god's rage, and they can drop those or a paralyzer. But the big thing about this guy is, if I recall, they have a lot of just damage they can throw at you in terms of pure. That was explanation failure. Wow.
For some reason, these guys look like Doulahan. No, who was that dude in Zozo from 6?
Zozo, Dadaluma.
Yes. Also, if you guys heard like an advertisement, sorry, that was the wiki page.
Yeah.
My bad.
Things are weird. Kenny's also standing up while recording this, which is different.
It is slightly different. I don't like sitting down too much.
Just don't drop the mic.
I'll drop something, but it's not the mic.
The bass?
The soap? Oh, wait. Yeah, I'll drop the bass, cause I'm all about that bass.
Ugh. Either way, there we got the reflect armor, which I forget if it has any extra things in this game, but it's just a really good defense upgrade for Luneth.
So is it like auto reflect then?
No, because reflect was not. Well, actually, no. Reflect is kind of a thing in this game. No, actually, no, it entirely is. But I don't think the armor has it in this one. I think it just protects you from elements in terms of defenses.
I do like how 4 implemented since it was like the first real game that had a serious reflect spell, that they implemented like a dungeon that was pretty much all about that.
Here it is. Mirror mail as it is in the later version. 20 defense, 12 magic defense, 12% evade, although it did protect against some statuses in the DS version. Or 3D version, rather.
Some status effects. So it's like a ribbon, but it's armor.
I would assume it's closer to, not the ribbon. What was that, it was an accessory in 6. Whoop! Secret passageway. Be careful, by the way, because these are all monsters in boxes, and there's 2 kinds of them.
The Ouroboros. 830 HP, 3600 XP, 1680 gil. They're weak to thunder. They don't drop anything.
I recall these guys being kind of tricky if you're at a lower level, but I'm going to take them out fairly quickly.
They can petrify.
Yeah, that's the really annoying thing. The big thing about these 8 chests is that they're all monster boxes, but there's 2 kinds of them. The top row is all Ouroboros, and I'm just going to edit them out because they're all basically the same fight. But the bottom ones are all Ions. 1200 HP, 3400 XP, 1600 gil. You can steal potions, and they can use Quake on you. And Quake hurts in this game.
Well, Quake also hurts in 4. That's why I don't enter the the Cave of the Summons until I have Float.
If I recall, they also get 2 attacks per turn in the DS version. I might be thinking of something else, though.
Gross.
I know they're used in the DS version in the side quest to get the ultimate weapon. So basically, you get 4 elixirs and 4 Phoenix Downs, so that's pretty good. Oh god, my notes don't drop from my leg.
Kenkos. 1120 HP, 2200 XP, 750 gil. They are not weak to anything, and they don't drop anything either.
And then there's the Fahans. 510 HP, 2800 XP, 745 gil. Can steal high potions or bomb right arms from them, and they can drop those or a paralyzer. And these guys can suck because they will use Break 2 on you. And as I said earlier, Break 2 is an instant petrification spell, which sucks. If you have Mute, I could recommend it.
If you have if you're playing the DS version, the Kenkos can be killed with a thunder spell really fast because they're weak to thunder in the DS version.
Not so lucky here, but oh well. Either way, let's go upstairs, and hey, we're back in Salonia Castle. And if you're wondering what that cut was, it was me healing, because it's time for a boss fight against a man who becomes a familiar sight from here on, Odin.
Oh, Odin. I hated you in 4. 7,000 HP, 5,000 experience points, 5,600 gil. He can use Atom Edge. That's dangerous.
It's not an instant kill, though. It's not an instant kill in 3. It just does a lot of damage. He can be annoying, honestly, because his Atom Edge does really hurt, but honestly, he's not too hard at my levels. Bio is the best way to go because I think it just has neutral elemental damage plus just being the highest damage spell I have.
Oh. In the 3D version, you can steal Gungnir.
Yeah, that's really good for Dragoons, if I recall.
But it has a 0.3% chance of being dropped, which is lower than the pink tail.
Yeah, so have fun doing that. I would rather not. Haste up your melee fighters and have them attack. Everyone else just do their usual, and hopefully he'll go down with enough time. And I'm not going to be using Odin as a summon later on when I eventually do have a class that can use summons at least. He's actually going to be stored in the in the fat chocobo for most of the game. But he is actually one of the better summons in the game if you decide to use him. The reason I didn't is just because I had too many level 6 spells at the time already. Odin, when his 3 effects as a summon, his white magic is a party reflect spell. His black magic is Atom Edge, which I think is just still high damage. But his summon effect is his usual Zantetsuken. So he can instant kill enemies, but not us. Sadly, I'll never use him, but he's there if you want him.
Reminds me of Ashura with the fact that he has 3 different, like, effects every time you summon him.
Well, every summon in the game has that thing in this game, the 3 effects. It's just the fact that, honestly, until Odin, not many of the summons are too useful aside from Shiva and Ifrit, but even then, I don't use them. Either way, next up, someone mentioned that east of Goldor's castle, basically, there was an underwater cave. Let's check this place out. This place is entirely optional. There's not even a boss at the end of it, but it is worth it for some of the treasure later on, I will say that. Being an underwater area, though, brings some bolt spells. Oh, hey, look, burbs! First enemy in this area is the Dasmia, 540 HP, 2200 XP, 780 gil. You can steal a potion from them, and that's about it, but I believe in the DS version they're weak to arrow. So, they're not hard to beat, but they're even easier in the DS version.
Which is funny because the DS version is harder.
Yeah. Overall harder. They boosted like enemy HPs and levels. You need to be more prepared in the DS version, but I'd say that it's kind of a more competent RPG because of that, because it uses its gimmicks more wisely. Though I'm not a fan of the DS versions of 4 or 3 overall in comparison to the other versions.
4. Ugh.
Well, 4 DS had a lot of good troll moments for players like me, especially like the Luge fight. Golbez, the Luge fight.
Proto-Baybil.
Well, at least he's post-game. The attack and defense cores. Ugh. That I hated that. They switched them.
Okay, so we have Killer Snails, also called Killer Hermits in later translations. They have 560 HP, 2400 EXP, or 560 HP, 2400 EXP, 820 gil. They are weak to thunder. They do not drop anything. Fairly easy.
I do believe this is actually one of the 2 enemies in the entire area that's weak to bolt, despite me saying a lot of enemies are weak to bolt in here. But there's only like 4 normal enemies you encounter anyway, so I guess that's better than nothing. Nothing really special about these guys, though, but I do like the color palette, even though it reminds me a bit too much of Kamen Rider X8.
I like the general outline of the enemy.
I forget who did the sprite design in this game. I won't be surprised if it's based off of Nomura artwork or Amano artwork. Yeah, in fact, I think it is based off of a lot of Amano artwork. Gah, I speak the wells the sometime. I do wish, this is something I complained about with this game. Oh, first off, we got the Defender. That's a really good sword. We got one in the last area in Temple of Time, but I forgot to mention it there. Defender's really good because it increases your vitality by 5. A similar complaint I have to 3 that I had with 2 as well is that I don't think there's enough dungeon song themes. There's only like 2 or 3, and I usually like 4 or 5. But that's just me probably overlooking things and being a bit hard on games for unnecessarily. Either way, next enemy is a Sea Witch. 550 HP, 2400 XP, 800 gil, weak to thunder. You can steal a potion from them, and that's about it.
Look like a kind of Castlevania enemy.
They do kind of remind me of some mixture of the Merman and Camilla, actually. Now that you mention that. Not like Rondo of Blood Camilla. I think it was, what was it? I think it was one of the 3D games, possibly. I forget. It's been a while.
I just got into Castlevania, so...
And you started with
Aria of Sorrow.
Really good one.
Alright, next we have Aegil, called Aegir in the 3D version. They have 590 HP, 2800 DXP, 860 gil. I'm failing at words today, but they don't drop anything.
We're both failing at words.
You less than I.
I think I've been failing a bit more, but that's not fight over that. Oh god, don't drop thing. I'm coordinated today.
We're professional.
I do believe this is also a reused tile set now that I look at it in terms of the enemy environment tiles, but I could be wrong about that. Actually, you know what? I think it's the underwater cave area where we fought Goose Go earlier.
Where he's like, oh, I have your crystal from the Vikings?
The horn. Also, I think I just showed it off there. At this point, I believe my black and white mages have maxed out their skill level. So now I don't need to be uselessly casting magic, and it can actually just try to kill things quickly.
Also, tomahawks. Are they good?
They are Viking equipment, and as I mentioned earlier, Vikings are more defensive versions of knights, but their weapons are less accurate. Either way, we got 2 new enemies here. First off, we got the Alag High. 570 HP, 2400 XP, 840 gil. Steal a potion from them. That's about it. I think in the DS version they're weak to thunder.
The Kelpies are not weak to anything. They have 580 HP, they have 2800 EXP, and 850 gil. They do not have any weaknesses, and they don't drop anything. But in the DS version, they are weak to lightning.
Alag High, isn't that from J.R.R. Tolkien?
That sounds familiar.
I think that was something having in like the Lord of the Rings series, like something having to do with the trolls. I think. It's been a while since I saw any of those movies or Hobbit.
The Hobbit was my personal favorite.
I remember, and anyone in the comments, sound out if you remember this game too. I had a PC game for The Hobbit that I think was also on the GameCube, and it was really kind of weird. And I remember as a kid always getting stuck on this one level where you basically had to sneak around like 3 trolls eating a lot of mutton. And I always sucked at that section as a kid because I could never figure out stealth too well.
Did someone put poison in their mutton?
I think it is that scene, actually.
Oh my god. What happened to Dorcas? So put poison in his mutton.
Either way, we got these 4 chests in this little hidden area are all monster in a box, and they each have something unique in them. First off, we got the Dragon Zombie, 2000 HP, 5000 XP, 960 gil, weak to fire and holy. You can steal a potion from them. If you want to try and use the, I think Phoenix Down and Life will actually kill it. You can, but it's just better to physically attack because it has so little HP.
Especially considering that Phoenix Downs are kind of rare, aren't they?
Yeah, you can only find them in the chest that they are.
Oh, look, the Blood Spear. And you fight the Peryton, 730 HP, 3200 EXP, 1200 gil. They do not drop anything.
Yeah, it's kind of simple. Also, I completely skimmed over it earlier. And one of the chests on this floor, we got the Ancient Sword. The Ancient Sword is the exact same thing it was in Final Fantasy II. It can stun enemies. And I recommend having it equipped for the battle after this one. First off, we got Eaters, 1150 HP, 320 XP, 945 gil, weak to Dark Swords. You'll find out what that is about in a bit. You can steal a potion from them, and these are the first dividing enemies, meaning that if you kill them incorrectly, they will split into another version of them with, I think, less HP, which gets annoying in the next couple areas. But the real first time you're going to be encountering one that's really annoying is in here.
You got Reflect Armor from it. This is Deathclaw, which now I finally see the resemblance in 5. 1400 HP, 320 EXP, 980 gil. They drop high potions, black holes, Lilith kisses, and Imp's yawn. And they also divide when they're hit.
The reason I recommend you have the Ancient Sword for this is that the Ancient Sword, which I do believe I have equipped right now, no I don't, I probably forgot to equip it, is that it will stun them, but I guess they didn't split. The stunning prevents them from splitting, which is going to be very useful in an upcoming area. Keep that Ancient Sword around for a bit. Okay, yeah, I did have it on. Clearly, it's been a while since I recorded this footage.
6 months?
No, not that long. About 1. And I use that jump cut as a way to get out of there. Now we can finally progress with the story. Now that we have the Noah's loot, we can head on over into this cave and do some stuff with it. This is Unne's shrine. Basically, you might remember how Zandy gave her the dream world. She's conquering some sort of weird dream world right now. And the only way we can awake her is with said loot. So let's use that on her. Also, is this chicken just here randomly? What does it eat?
It's probably there for moral support.
But what does it eat? Where does it poop? These are real questions, people.
It has the holes to poop in. As for food, it can go outside and scavenge, probably.
I suppose. Either way, we've awakened Unne!
Oh, it's a parrot.
Whoa.
Your sprite looks worse.
Yeah. But now it's time for her wake-up exercises because she's one of the most energetic old ladies I've ever seen. Comedy relief, people. It was different in the 90s. Anyway, now let's talk to her now since she's awake. And she's going to be giving us some good info. Namely, she heard about us from Dorga, and we need to go get the great ship that can cross mountains. It's going to be in the ancient ruins to the north. And you do need to do this. You do need to talk to Unne before you do this, so make sure you do that. However, that's not all she has for us. She also, for some reason, has one of the Fangs. She has the Fire Fang. And she just gives it to us. But she also tells us its purpose. These 4 Fangs, as I think I read in a book over in the library, allow us to destroy statues.
The 4 Fangs.
And now that we've talked to Unne and know that, we can go do something about it and get those Fangs out of our inventory. Because really, 3 inventory spaces is just way too much taken up at once. So we want to fly about northeast, about to this desert, fly north. And there they are. You can only fly between the statues as human. And having talked to Unne, now we can actually walk through them, and the Fangs will destroy them in sequence. I should mention, if you try to do this before talking with Unne, it's a game over.
Why?
The energy between them kills you, I suppose. But thankfully, now I have those 3 inventory spaces cleared. Thank God.
What about the 4th one?
We don't have it yet.
The Earth Fang. The Earth Fang, right?
The Earth Fang is in the Cave of Darkness somewhere on this continent, actually. But we're not going to be doing anything about that for a bit because we need to go get the Invincible in order to cross mountains. And as Unne said after she woke up, we can find the Invincible in a cave just to the north of where we found her. So fly about to here. Fly in the wrong direction, apparently. Fly through the rivers. And there it is. By the way, you cannot land on marshes, so you need to land over here.
Hey, Midgarzolum, aka marshes.
By the way, when I was playing 15, I actually kind of jumped when one of those things showed up.
Do they look scary in the 15?
The Midgarzolum, at least the enemy that inspired it, like the thing from Norse mythology, is in the game. It's a lot smaller, but it looks much more threatening. And obviously you need Unne to do this because otherwise she wouldn't be able to destroy the rocks. Now she's badass, what can we say? The thing is about enemies in here is that a lot of them I think are the same as I believe that either the Temple of Time or the underground area. I forget which. There are some new enemies in here, but for the most part, they're nothing new. Apologize for about that. Kenny's computer exploded for about 10 minutes. And we are immediately led into our next fight against a paralysis, which I need to get the enemy notes back up for. Oh, crud. Yeah, Kenny's computer shut down randomly.
It just boom, everything shut off.
Yeah, and I actually completed the part on my own because I wasn't sure what was going on. But now we're back to finish these last 6 minutes. Either way, Paralysis, even though he's dead now, 1500 HP, 4800 XP, 880 gil, can steal a potion, weak to Blizzaga, I think, in the 3D versions. And he has the Blaze ability, but it's nothing too threatening.
It was funny because I was, like, immediately after the thing, I was like, oh god, oh no, oh no, oh no. Because I was like, oh, my audio is not going to happen, we have to restart. And I was like, I started typing to Kyle, mayday, 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 bad stuff happened. And
thankfully, Audacity recovered his project. Whew.
Very pleased that he managed to recover that.
Also, I should mention on that last floor where all the scholars were, those 3 doors all lead to, I believe, an item shop, an inn. I think it's an inn. It might be a magic shop. Probably an inn. And another kind of shop. And you're also going to find... each one of these little rooms has equipment in it. The major thing is that if you didn't get the Karateka stuff for him earlier, for some reason, you can get it here.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah, odd place to put equipment. Like, we're going to be getting a claw in this next room here. But at this point, the claws are so weak compared to the Karateka's natural strength that it's just pointless.
Free money, man.
I suppose. I always found that term redundant.
I mean, do you need money in this game anyways?
Yes, that's actually something very important. I think I even mentioned that in the 6 minutes where you were gone. Money is very important in this game in that the last shop sells stuff that's really expensive but really good.
Hey, that sounds just like the Mirage Forest in 5. Ugh, Angel's Rings.
Similar, but better.
Really?
Also, at this point, I believe you can run into the new kinds of enemies. I recommend putting on the Ancient Sword from this point on in the dungeon.
Because all the
Splitters.
enemies will probably divide, yes.
There's 3. I think I only run into 2 of them, though. In fact, let me look at my little side notes here. Basically. This dungeon's also kind of fairly lengthy, despite being very straightforward. I think it's 8 floors long. Either way, here are the last 2 enemies for the part. I'll start off with the Garb. 1000 HP, 320 XP, 920 gil. Will split if not attacked with magic or dark swords. You can steal, and it can drop a high potion.
Alright, and the Cyrenos has 910 HP, 320 EXP, 900 gil. They're weak to dark swords, and they don't drop anything. But they do split when they are attacked by a weapon that is not a dark sword.
And you actually saw the splitting go on there with the Garb. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. I'm not exactly sure about one thing with the splitting, and that's how the HP with the splitting works. I'm not sure if it respawns an entirely new enemy, or if it's like the same HP as the original. I don't know. It feels like it's the latter, but I killed them too quickly anyway.
So if you kill them all at the same time, will they just split into 4 more, just with less HP?
I don't know. I know. I hate the splitting enemies in this game, but they're also fairly simple to take out if you know what to do. The worst thing about them, honestly, is that they give so little XP.
Yeah, that's what I found really interesting, is that I was looking at the at these last few enemies that split, and I was like, why do they only give like 500? They should be giving like 2,000.
I think it was their way to counteract possible grinding possibilities with them. Because if you have an enemy that can split a lot, that means you can get a lot of multiplications of their XP. So if they have too much, you could potentially like boost yourself 2 or 3 levels, which would not be good.
Like the Summoner.
Yeah.
In 4.
Either way, here's the Invincible, which, by the way, I'd like to note, is rising to the east of the cave we just entered. So that'd be a really long cave. Also, it's just a reused warship sprite from Final Fantasy II.
Bad.
But I love its theme. And the Invincible is actually a pretty kick-ass airship. First off, it can basically land anywhere. What really happens is that you basically, when you press the B button, you come back to this inner area, you go down the stairs, and you're outside. You can press the A button to hover over small mountain ranges. It has every type of shop in it. It doesn't have too many items in it, but it has enough. It has a built-in bed as an inn, and a built-in fat chocobo.
Good! That's like...
The
6.
fat chocobo still requires a carrot, but you can buy one in the item shop up there for cheap, so it's not that big of a deal. The only big problem with it is that outside of when you're piloting it, it is kind of slow. And also,
that's kind of like the lunar whale, right?
Yeah, actually very similar. Though if you ever want to get the Nautilus back, sadly you have to go all the way back to where you dropped it, back in front of the ancient ruins.
That's very Final Fantasy IV-esque, because you need to use a whole bunch of different ships to get to a certain adamant cave.
Yeah. Also, I recommend taking out the stored Medusa arrows and flame mail that I know for a fact I told you to store both earlier, because they're going to be coming in handy for the next area. But yeah, I do find it really lazy to just reuse the airship sprite, the warship sprite. But to their credit, they only had to use the warship sprite like twice in Final Fantasy II, so they at least have the excuse that they can finally just use it for something. And you are supposed to head over to the Cave of Darkness right now. However, I want to take a sidetrack because over these little mountains, there is a town. But with that, we're going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching.
And in part 9, we'll be entering this town and heading over to the Cave of Darkness after that to get some stuff done, and hopefully we won't have tech issues. Ugh.
Oh boy.
See you guys then.
See you guys then.